Good morning, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sly Report. Today, we are going over One Piece 1127. If you missed it, last week, we did the One Piece collab with the boy King Rich Paulo and Swedes Nation. So, if you haven't checked that out, go ahead, go look at the page. You know what I'm saying? Go to the actual page, not just the video. Actually, I might just link it in the description. But if you haven't seen the One Piece collab for 1126, go ahead and check that out. Then come right back here so we can get into 1127. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, we start this chapter and we are on Elbaf. We are in a random giant village and we get some giant talk, some giant conversation about the things that are happening right now. So, one, there is a fire that is going on and it is off near the Yggdrasil tree. And the giants, they're commenting about how they need to go put this fire out, how it would be bad, or it'd be the end of giant civilization. Really, it would be the end of them if the Yggdrasil tree burns. So, they're like, we got to go put out this fire. Somebody needs to report this to the sun god. So, here, we already have a reference to the sun god, but these guys don't know Luffy. These guys don't know Luffy is where he is at, or where Luffy is, or who Luffy is for real. So, this says that there might be some shenanigans already occurring on the land of Elbaf. But, you know, as we're just going to point that out, there's a sun god reference and they are not talking about Luffy. But we continue and we see two specific giant citizens. They are commenting on how there are two giant bees on the floor in front of them. They're called stinger moles, but they're commenting how you don't usually see stinger moles on the ground. Like, what's going on? Why they look so beat up? Like, what's going on? And then this leads into a further conversation about how one of them had heard that the ear god, which is a giant rabbit, had collapsed. So they're thinking the two things could possibly be related. So, just a quick review of what we've got going on right now. We're in Elbaf. We're in a giant village, and we're getting some random giant conversation about what's been going on throughout the day. There's a fire. They got to try and go put that out. There's stinger moles falling from the sky. The ear god has collapsed. Somebody's like, we got to report this to the sun god. Things are going crazy out here. But we cannot get stuck here. We must continue. So continue we shall. So, we then cut over to a location called Big Stein Castle. And in this castle, we are reunited with Nami. So, Nami is in this castle and she's being attacked by a stinger mole and she unleashes Zeus. Zeus takes care of it. But Zeus comes back to Nami and he's like, hey, you know where we are? And she's like, no, I have no idea where we are. I have no idea how I got in these clothes. Like, what's going on? So, she has a little mini freak out and then she calms herself down. She begins to look around, explore her surroundings, and she hears our boy Usopp. But before she can find Usopp, she gets tripped up on the floor because this whole entire castle is made of Legos, apparently. But she gets tripped up on the floor and she ends up getting surprised by a giant hedgehog. Now, this giant hedgehog is not too happy with being surprised, so it begins to attack and chase after Nami. And Nami's running and she's like, help me. And then she hears Usopp again. She thinks she's going to get some help from Usopp. She looks over to where Usopp is. No, Usopp is in his own dangerous situation. He is already in the mouth of a giant cat. Now, Usopp is also in some Elbaf gear. He's also made a fit change, and he is sporting the fake mustache and beard combo as he is one to do. But this is happening. Nami's like, what's going on? You're being attacked. Usopp's like, hey, save me. So, Nami being backed into a corner, she attacks this hedgehog that's coming after her with Zeus. But while she attacks the hedgehog with Zeus, she falls off of the ledge that she is on. She falls off the ledge, she bounces off the cat, and she lands pretty much safely. But the hedgehog is also falling. The hedgehog is also currently being electrocuted, and it falls onto the cat, which frees Usopp and electrifies the cat. But while the hedgehog is now incapacitated, the cat has been enraged. So now Usopp and Nami, they are hitting the jets. They running from this cat, and the cat is chasing after them because now the cat is angry that it has been shocked, and it wants revenge. So while they're running, Usopp and Nami begin to discuss, and they're like, hey, do you know how we got here? No, do you? And Usopp's like, no, last thing I remember. And Nami's like, last thing I remember, we was on the giant ship, we was partying. So they can confirm that neither one of them know how they got here, know how they have become in the attire that they are in. They're just now in this land of, as Nami said, this land of monsters. So they're being chased, but as they are discussing, Nami remembers that one of the giants said that the drink they were drinking can cause hallucinations. So Usopp latches onto this as they are driven into yet another corner where they are on yet another ledge. And Usopp remembers this, and he's like, well, this thing might be an illusion. So he begins to turn to face the cat, thinking it's an illusion, which the cat quickly proves to be, no, it's not an illusion. Usopp gets attacked and he gets knocked off the ledge. But the momentum from the cat's attack also destroys this ledge and knocks itself and Nami down to the courtyard below. So, I know we just covered a lot of ground, but hey, this chapter moves pretty fast. So, Usopp and Nami have been reunited. Nami has successfully taken out a giant bee and a giant hedgehog, but now they're being chased by the giant cat that was pursuing Usopp, and now they have been knocked down yet another layer onto the courtyard floor. But we will not stop here. We must continue because things are about to get even more interesting, more spicy. Let's go. So, they've been knocked off the ledge. Nami, I believe she blacks out for a second, but she comes to rather quickly. But when she comes to, she is now face to face with a giant lion that the cat has now transformed into a giant lion. This is things that are happening. And yes, so the giant lion cat is now preparing to attack Usopp and Nami. Usopp, who is pretty much laying there lifeless on the ground after being attacked and then falling from that height. But Nami, still being Nami, is like, oh no, I'm about to be attacked. Usopp save me, and begins to use Usopp as a human shield. But before Usopp can be used as a human shield effectively, before Nami is attacked, we hear Sanji, of course, coming like, oh no, you're not about to do that. So here comes Sanji along with Zoro and Luffy, and they all gear up to attack. Sanji hits Ifrit Janbei, Zoro hits Dragon Twister, and Luffy comes in with a gear. Now here's some confusing things. He says gear 4th, but from the visual of it, as you will see, it looks like a Gear 3rd attack. So they all attack, and it mirrors what they did to the Sandora Lizard Dragon back in Alabasta when they all three attacked that. But it's really cool. It's a cool spread. It looks nice. It's going to be right here. You're going to see it. But that happens. So the day is saved. Nami is reunited with the boys. The boys are talking about what they were up to earlier. They comment on how they had beat up some giant bees. Oh, they beat up the giant rabbit. However, I misspoke. My bad. They beat up the giant rabbit, the ear god. They end up eating some meat off of that. So there's that. They're debating whether or not to eat the cat that they just defeated, because it turns back into a cat after defeating it. And depending on your translation, we have one where Luffy says he's good, one where he's debating it. But the long and short of it is the original 5 are back together, you know what I'm saying? And they all have rather nice fits on. They all have some Elbaf gear on. But this is where the chapter ends, with all of our guys, well, not all of our guys, but most of our guys being reunited into one group. They do discuss what to do next, and Zoro does bring up, hey, maybe we should figure out where we are, reunite with the rest of the crew. But, you know, as for what the actual plan is, we don't really know. But that is where the chapter ends. But a few things I want to bring up. The fact that the hallucinations was brought up might lean towards, along with some other things that happen in this chapter, like some inconsistencies. Well, they might be inconsistencies, they might be clues. There are a couple points in the chapter where Nami has a sword, then she doesn't have a sword, then she has a sword again. There's a point where Luffy has a sword, then he doesn't have anything on his back at all, and then he ends up with an axe on his back. There's the fact that Luffy says Gear 4, but the visuals of it, it looks like a Gear 3 attack. So there are a lot of things that could either be clues to there being hallucinations going on with these 5 right now currently, or there are things that could lead to it being just, you know, some inconsistencies. And if there are inconsistencies, it'll be fixed later on down the line once the volume comes out and all that other good stuff. But if it is a clue, I didn't want to leave it out and then it not be talked about, especially with the lion changing from the cat to the lion, with the disappearing and reappearing and changing weapons and all that. But that is the chapter. It's not a rather long chapter. It is kind of fast paced. There's a lot of things happening, setting up some more mystery, setting up what might be going on. But I would like to thank you for joining me today. As I said, if you did not catch the collab, it's on Rich's page. So if you want to go check that out, you can go check that out. I am going to put a link in the description. But once again, thank you for joining me on the Sly Report today. This has been the news on 11/27. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Peace.